Evidence-based versus anecdotal. Bro science versus real science debate. People will quote abstracts on social media posts and things. If you actually go and read the study, you're like, that has no real world practicality or like clinical significance at all.
You could spend 2 weeks with a pro bodybuilder and you could pick up just as good quality information than if you went and read a textbook and looked at all the research on certain topics.
This is why I don't think you should be one way or the other. I always say the only thing we're biased towards is results.
I'm Ryan Stevens.
Dr. Taylor Waters. I'm Ben Olliver.
Welcome to the Supra Human Show, yeah?
Evidence-based versus anecdotal. This is the bro science versus real science debate, which is never ending on social media. So I really like this one because we all come from an academic background, doctor,
A low academic background,
master's degrees. So we've experienced just by 1%.
What one of those?
Pass. But so we've experienced the evidence-based side, as close as you can get. Obviously, when you do a master's degree or a PhD, you have to do a dissertation where you are carrying out a study, whether it's to do with training or nutrition or whatever the fuck you did, psychology.
Yeah, we're mates.
Whatever,
We've been mates a while.
Whatever nonsense you conjured up. And so you get firsthand experience of how are these studies actually done? And anyone that's done an undergrad or a master's degree or a PhD, you do a module called research methods, which is all the statistical analysis and the different analysis that you can do based on the study that you're carrying out. And I can't remember a single thing about it, and I hated research methods.
Honestly, it's so hard. There's a book out, like Statistics for Dummies or something like that.
Yeah.
And then you've got some influencer that's barely made school, trying to interpret it. Yeah. I'm like, come on.
And so...
What was the SPSS one? It was it's the white book. I can't remember the guy's name now. But I remember my professor gave it to me and was like, because I didn't do that much statistics until master's level, so I had to almost try and play catch up. Yeah. So she gave me this SPSS book. It was like, that's written as a real, you'll be able to understand it just reading it. I'm like, mate.
It's like algebra. It's just,
God.
yeah.
It's hard when it's a book.
So, and then you see someone doing it on a board with a pen.
Yeah.
There's some guys who are doing it literally on a board. And I'm like, mate, I've got this book and a software and I still can't do it.
Yeah. So just for anyone that doesn't know what it is, SPSS it almost looks like an Excel document on your computer, but it's specifically used for statistical quantitative data analysis. And so going through that, it gives you the appreciation of what actually goes into a study, but it also highlights how many flaws there can be, and how many variables that you can't control within a study, and really all of the conclusions are based on probability. Yeah, there's nothing that outright says this thing does this thing. It's all based on probability or significance, and so. One thing which you'll see if you look at any study, to do with nutrition or training, or it might be any study, but you'll see something called a p-value, which is basically a math equation. Which, if the value is less than a certain number, which is what 0.05 is tends to be the standard, then it means it's statistically significant difference, and if it's more than that, then it's not. The biggest issue that I've had with it is people will look at a PubMed abstract and it would say the group that took creatine significantly improved their bench press compared to the group that didn't. And in real world day to day, when you use the word significant, generally speaking, you think big difference.
Yeah.
If I said John is significantly taller than me, then you would go, he's probably a lot taller then.
He's probably about 5'10", is he?
So he's 5'10" and a half. But when you're looking at statistical analysis in a p-value of significance, you would read a study and it would say, they significantly improved their bench more than the group that didn't. But when you look at the actual data, it might be the group without creatine benched 60 kilos. The group that took creatine benched 61.5 kilos. And so statistically it's different, but in the real world, they could have just been having a good day.
Yeah.
And so people will quote abstracts on social media posts and things, and it'd be like, oh, the group that took this supplement significantly decreased this or whatever. And then if you actually go and read the study, you're like, that has no real world practicality or like clinical significance at all.
Yeah.
And so I think the evidence-based crowd a lot of times don't come from academic backgrounds. There's some that do. You've got guys like Eric Helms, Brad Schoenfeld, Alan Aragon, Lane Norton. Like they've all done their PhDs or master's degrees. They've carried out studies themselves, and they also have a very good. When they talk about their studies, they're the first ones to call out their limitations, and they'll say like, look, we're not saying this will absolutely do this. It's like we couldn't control this, and we could only do this. So based on that, you can form your educated opinion.
There's different levels of research as well, so like meta-analysis and stuff like that.
You've got like your gold standards.
Yeah, you've got like your gold
I
standards.
remember my old mentor Trevor used to say, if it's not a meta-analysis or a systematic review, he's like, I don't even look at it.
Yeah.
And
That's the point that I've got to now.
Yeah, because that's it. Like people like quote the study, and it's like only one study with like 2 people participating in like 1959.
or it'll be a rat study.
Yeah.
Over 2 weeks.
Or it would say the first like 2 words will say in vitro, which basically means in a test tube or like a simulator. And so it's like that's like the lowest level of study.
Yeah.
And so I think
It's also the way that they define certain things. So like, for example, like what measure are they taking? So like sometimes they'll say, oh, this person increased muscle size. But then like what measure were you taking for muscle size? And then you realize, oh, well, the measure that they're taking is not a true reflection anyway.
By their eye. He looks
Yeah, it's like so it's like not even the measure that they're looking at is a true reflection of what you would look at. So if it says it increases muscle size, you think, I can look at it and it's an increased muscle size. But oh no, they took it from like a scan inside the muscle cell, and you're like, oh, okay, well,
or if it's on body fat, it's like, well, what do they use to test body fat? In body, right? Well, that's useless then. So it's like there's loads of but you don't look until you read the full study, which takes 30 minutes to an hour, to really break it down. Like even for a smaller study, it's very hard to.
But this
use it as a reference.
In order to be, evidence-based, like when you look at like the guys who are really strong in that area, like a Lane Norton, like a Alan Aragon, people like that, they understand it enough that they can critique the study as well.
Yeah.
And I remember going through my PhD, I always remember that's what I found the hardest, because you almost, whoever's written the study, you put that on a pedestal a little bit, and you're like, oh, I think like this is, they're obviously good, they're publishing work, they're going to be, and then once you do go down that publishing route, you realize, actually there's massive degrees into like quality of research that gets published as well. So, and then once you've got to a certain standard, then you can critique these papers and be like, okay, this was the finding that they had. However, looking at the methods, these are the limitations. It was only X amount of time. The population was small. But these people who often claim to be evidence-based don't have that understanding whereby they can critique a study. So they just take every single study they read at face value.
Yeah.
Like there's the one, what's the supplement? They use it. It's like a fat loss supplement. You can't buy it in the UK.
Epidrin.
No. You see a lot of the bodybuilders using it. It's like a tree bark or something. Yohimbine, yeah. Like there's that one study on football players for like 6 weeks, and like it mobilizes fat in harder to reach areas. So again, for example, it's like, well, you might have body fat around like the hip area, which doesn't come off quite as easy as like around the delts and stuff.
Yeah.
So, and it's like, so therefore it increases fat loss. It's like, well, no, it might mobilize fat from those areas, but if you continue to lose fat, it's going to come off those areas anyway.
Yeah.
So it's like, again, but people go off that one study, and now like every bodybuilder is adding it to their stack. And it's like, make that one study was I would say quite low quality study.
The biggest one was, this is probably 15 to 20 years ago when creatine maybe even longer, when it started to become popular as a supplement, you had the creatine loading stage, which was you take 20 grams a day for like the first week, and then you drop it to 5 grams. And that was like a staple for everyone. It's like, oh, no, I'm in the loading stage of my creatine. And I think it was one of my lecturers at my undergrad said the reason that whole loading stage even became a thing was one of the first guys that was researching creatine. No one in the US was willing to be a participant because they didn't know what it was. And it was Russian athletes that were willing to try it, obviously, because they'll do anything. But he could only get a week visa to Russia. And so he was like, well, if I'm only there for a week, I'm going to fucking slam it. And so he gave them all 20 grams. And so like that's where the loading phase came from. It was just, he only had 7 days with those athletes. So he just loaded them up.
Just ramped it up
But then that turned into like, you know, for 10 years, it was like, you got to load your creatine because of this and that. And it's like, you've extrapolated that from a study and you didn't know the reasoning behind it at all.
Yeah.
It's like you can cherry pick studies for your own benefit, can't you?
Yeah.
But also, like what people don't realize, it can come down to who the study was funded by as well.
Yeah.
Do they have like
Yeah.
do they have like a bias in like they're actually trying to prove something? You know, so you have to take the research with like a pinch of salt, and that's why systematic reviews, meta-analysis. If you are going to go off the research, they probably get better.
Another
bet.
huge one in fitness is the untrained and trained.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, this person, this increased muscle in these, they're untrained. Like they can just walk in a gym and they're going to add a little bit of muscle to their frame.
There was a really good one. You could probably still find the study online, but it was because we went through it on my master's degree. It was a group of men who basically gained muscle and lost fat over it was like an 8 or 12 week period, but the numbers that they were churning out was like gained 8 pounds of muscle and lost 12 pounds of fat. And I'm like, get the fuck out. Like that's nonsense. And then when you look closer, it turns out the people that they used were ex-NFL athletes.
They're like detrained ex-NFL.
Yeah. So what they did is they regained a small percentage of lost muscle that they had for 20 years. And they lost some timber, but they were also like mid 200 pounds, like they were like beefy boys, so they didn't build new muscle tissue during that time. They stopped eating like a full-time athlete because they were retired, and so it's like, well, that's not practical for anyone because if the fact that you're in the NFL, you're in the 0.001% of genetics anyway. So it's go ahead.
And that's why context is so important.
But And then when you go down the training studies, like it's like a new thing. I don't know if it's just clickbait now on social media where you've got like the skinny kids and they're like, you know, they've got like a strap around their midsection of their arm to brace their arm. And they're like, you know, this is the most optimal tricep extension you can do. And it's like, you've got no tricep. and then meanwhile, you've got hundreds of thousands of meathead bodybuilders, like natural and not natural, that have just been doing the standard push downs, extensions, skull crushers with massive triceps.
Yeah.
And then they're kind of like, see, if you look at this pro bodybuilder, if he did 2 sets rather than 8, he'd be so much bigger. And it's like, who are you to critique? Like you've not walked the path yet. And it like that's, I think some of it is just clickbait to get views and things because it has to be because it's just absurd.
Mate, it's that stuff blows my mind. As you said, it has to be like, there's one guy who's got his arm in a foam roller.
So he can't bend his elbow. And he's doing like a fly or something.
Yeah, he's got a cuff. Yeah. He's got a cuffed side lateral, but cuff on.
Holding a handle
and his arm in like a tube, and he's doing side laterals.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
but it's like
sure, and he's got like delts like a mouse.
And he's using the cuff, and then the handle is attached to nothing. And he's like, well, you know, this study showed that by squeezing you're going to engage these muscles. It's like, just put the fucking handle on the thing then. And it's like so. It's so over the top. Like I'm like, this has to be like comedy. Like it has to.
I wonder what the likes of like Ronnie Coleman, Dorian Yates and stuff think of this stuff.
I don't think they look at it.
No,
I think it's just
yeah. And this is it, and like true evidence base has to come from like your personal experience plus like, and also all the results you've got consistently plus what the research says.
Yeah.
Like one of my things I always say, like the best thing I learned was like theory to practice. How do I apply it in real life?
Yeah.
And how does it even matter in real life significantly?
Well, because again, the number one thing that we look at with in coaching is adherence. And so even if there was a perfect study, even though there's no such thing, that showed, let's just say, eating 200 grams of raw beef first thing in the morning, ramped up your test levels, increased muscle building by 25%, whatever it is. How many people are actually going to do it consistently till they're like, I really don't want to have raw beef for breakfast? And it's like, right, so no one's going to do it anyway. And so you have to look at the practical implications of it, regardless of how good the study is. And so I think that's one thing that people miss all the time, is like, whether it's optimal or not, could you even do it? Even if someone said 400 grams of protein a day is better than 200, people can't do it because I feel bloated, I feel gassy, my food bill is through the roof, I'm sick of chicken. So it's irrelevant anyway. But I think with the evidence-based is always going to be behind, because someone has to have tried something for someone to go, we should study that and see if that is actually the case. And so even with things like peptides and stuff, which is all the craze now, they've been around for 20 years. Like, bodybuilders have been experimenting with that shit, in the 90s. It's only now that, because the markup and margins are so good, and it was SARMs a couple of years ago, and now it's peptides, and it'll be something else, for the next couple of years. But I think people that are just trying to solely go by evidence-based, you'll always be left behind from the guys that are like daring to explore and experiment and try different things.
They're on the battlefield.
Yeah.
I tell you what, we ain't behind on the arm in the foam roller and holding an handle attached to nothing. No one's trying that, surely.
No. But then
no one's researching
no.
that.
And then you have like the anecdotal side, which isn't like, you could say this is the bro science side, but all anecdotal means is essentially, I haven't controlled all the variables in like a laboratory study setting and done accurate analysis of it, or maybe I don't have enough people to prove it, or maybe you do, but it's just you're not controlling variables.
It's almost like an observation, isn't it?
It's an observational study.
Yeah.
And it's like, I remember part of my PhD was on this, and it was like I was doing qualitative analysis, and you're almost trying to, within the study, highlight, obviously if I'm interpreting the information, there is bias there. Yeah. There's my own. And I can use all the correct methods to try and limit the bias. However, there's always going to be bias because it's my interpretation. So then what you've got to do is map out then, okay, well, how would someone like me interpret that information, and what are the limitations there? So, you would say, like, I am a fitness person observing older people in a care home, for example. And it's like, so how would a person in their 20s observe someone who is at that age, and what benefits does that have, and what cons does that have? So it's like, you've got to understand where those limitations are. So it's like, again, if you're someone, again, let's just choose you, for example. You've trained for a long time. You've got a good baseline understanding of lifting weights, of nutrition, of SUPs. So when you go into a gym and observe what's going on around you, I would say you're in quite a good position to observe these things and make interpretations from where you're at, because you've got a good idea of what's going on. But if you put a complete newbie in a gym and went, observe what's going on around you, they haven't got a clue.
Yeah.
So it's like there are benefits to the observational type stuff as well. You just have to, again, you have to understand the limitations to an observation as well.
Yeah. I think with the anecdotal side, a lot of times it's correlation, not causation, and like understanding why something is happening is normally the thing that's been lost. But then you could also argue, it's like, if it's delivering the outcome that you desire, who gives a shit? Yeah. Like, and so it's like,
especially if you've seen it multiple times as well.
Yeah,
it's like you've got confidence to say
when there's a pattern.
Yeah, there's a pattern. It's like, oh, I'm pretty confident there's something here to look more in depth.
Yeah.
I don't know why X equals Y, but every time I do X, Y happens.
Yeah.
So if I keep doing X, I should, looking at what I've seen, continue to get Y.
You could do an example of, like, say, like, you with your busy clients that are traveling quite a lot. Let's just say one of the most common things you have them do is have a protein shake for breakfast because it's convenient, it's practical, gets jumpstart on their protein. and they all get great results. Like you could say anecdotally, when I put a protein shake with these guys, like they always get better results than the guys that don't do the protein shake. And if I go, why? You could be like, well, it could be they're actually hitting their protein target for the day because they're getting a head start on it and they're actually sticking to it. You could say, whey protein in the morning has been shown to do X, Y, and Z. And it's like, well, that might be the reason, but maybe not. Mm-hmm. And so there's loads of like assumptions you could go down as to why that's working. And this is where people might be like, by ingesting 50 grams of whey protein isolate in the morning, your metabolism does this, the thermic effect does this. Whereas you'll go, but if they do that, they're actually going to have breakfast and protein. And if I don't give them a shake, they don't eat breakfast. And then they're always behind on their protein intake. Mm-hmm. And so it's the why behind it, which I think a lot of people get confused on. But then also like, you don't need to go, I need to find a study to prove this before I can do this with my clients. When it's like, I've seen it time and time again. Mm-hmm. When I use this thing, they tend to get good results. Like I found if I really ramp up protein intake with my clients in a fat loss phase, they lose fat faster. And if, again, I wouldn't go, well, thermic effect of protein is causing X, Y, and Z. I'd say they eat less shit. Yeah. Like, because I just say eat as much lean protein as you can.
I remember seeing that study.
Yeah, there you go. Ben et al. But it's if I like perfect example is my client Scott Hall, where when I first started working with him, he's like ex lineman in football. So I think he was like around 280 pounds when we started working together. So it's like he's trained himself to be able to eat 7,000 calories a day. And so when we first started, I remember I put his protein intake at like 350 grams a day. And
he's windy.
He's in Texas, so I don't have to smell it. But it was you won't find, I think there's like one protein study by like what's his name, San Antonio something, where it was like 4.4 grams per kilogram. And he's like, they didn't gain fat, and they ate as much protein as they wanted, blah blah blah. But the reason why I did it was if I just get him eating lean steak and chicken all day, he's less likely to eat loads of other stuff, which is going to put him way over his calorie intake.
Yeah.
Like there's no evidence, like studies to support that. But I've just seen time and time again with clients, if I have them just really push the protein, they tend to be really satiated. Their blood sugar's probably more stable. They're eating higher volume foods. They're thinking about like sugary carbs and fats and things less. So they keep their calories in check. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so like there's things that you pick up from working with people in the real world, like in the trenches kind of thing, where it's hard to, when you look at it on paper, you're like, why would you do that? Like without knowing the context, like you said, you could say, who's your coach? He's an idiot. Like, why does he put your protein intake so high? And then when you understand the context, they'll go, that makes complete sense.
Yeah.
And so that's why I do like the anecdotal evidence. If you can rationalize it in a practical way, I think it has massive validity.
Yeah.
But so this is why like I don't think you should be one way or the other. Like, yes, like you should lean on the evidence and the systematic reviews and things like that. But I wouldn't just pigeonhole yourself to that.
No.
Because it will never allow you to go, let me just try something that's a bit out there, which may work really well with these clients because they can actually stick to it and still follow the kind of fundamentals of the evidence, like that you've looked at, like calorie intake and protein and stuff.
It is evidence though. Like we had this conversation before we started recording. It's like anecdotal evidence is still evidence. Like it's not, you can't make like a full conclusion based off it, but it's like, it can give me some direction and it can get me an outcome. It's like a really good area where I see this now is research on anabolic use. And it's like, I'm seeing these studies pop up and I'm like, mate, we've discovered this. I'm like, mate, bodybuilders discovered that in gyms 15 years ago. Like you're so far behind. So if now you were a coach in that field and you were just going off the scientific evidence, you're years behind. You're well over a decade behind people because there's people in there who have been doing this. Like if you told that to someone who is an actual expert in the field now, they'd be like, yeah, Like, we've been doing that for years. Like we've figured this out a long time ago.
I mean,
and it's like he didn't need to. They'll both get to the end point, but one of them's got there way faster because he's not trying to go through all these random studies. He's just trialing things out and making adjustments. And they're both going to get to the end at the same time. It's just one of them's having to publish all these studies on the way to try and prove things that you could have just gone down and asked, Juice Ed Steve, and he would tell you that.
Yeah.
No problem.
I don't know if there is any studies, but like another one, say with clients that are using like TRT or the Mexican sync. Again, if you look at like, say, testosterone enanthate, like has a half-life of 5 to 7 days, 7 to 9 days, something like that. So based on that, the recommended administration is 1 to 2 times per week. But we've seen time and time again, anecdotally, when you split the dose across 5 to 6 shots per week, testosterone levels tend to be more stable. Side effects tend to be minimized. Like, you can use a smaller injection pin, which is, from a practical standpoint, it allows people to do it for longer because they're not having to use these fucking horse tranks to use their injections. And so if all you looked at was like, no, but the half-life is this, therefore you only need to do it twice a week. It's like, yeah, but I've seen so many times that by splitting it more often, people get less side effects, they feel better, their levels are more stable. Like, there probably is some research behind it, but I haven't looked at it. But I've experienced that, and loads of clients have experienced that. So it's like, well, am I going to blanket recommend it to everyone? No. But if they're experiencing something which I've seen time and time again doing 2 shots a week, I might go, try splitting that up between 5 or 6. And you might find this. And so like there's some stuff that you're gonna find with nutrition, with training, that really there's no evidence to support it in PubMed or the literature, but you know that it works. Like leg curls before back squat.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think there's any studies that show like an increase in performance in your back squat by doing leg curls first. But we found with loads of clients and ourselves, your knees feel way better when your hamstrings are full of blood. Doesn't pre-fatigue you like your quads or anything, so you can still squat like optimally, but your knees feel way better. So it's like, now, am I going to program leg curls before back squat for every single client? No. But if someone goes, my knees really hurt when I squat, I'm like, try doing leg curls first. Might feel a bit better.
I think one of the biggest issues with like people these days as well, like who lean heavily into the research, is almost a bit like of a badge of honor. It's like, oh, I'm better because I go by the research, where you don't go by evidence, you go by like anecdotal, whereas like true evidence based, it's like what we spoke about: context, anecdotal, research, and how do I apply that? You know, so it's almost like they feel like they're better than you, they're superior because they read one study.
It's like you take all that knowledge, you interpret it as good as you can, and then you make informed decisions based off all that information that you've got. Whereas, like, again, someone who just, they only go down one avenue, it's, you're just limiting yourself. You've got one pathway that you can get the information from. And it's like, and if it's not on that pathway, then I'm not going down that. And it's like, well, there's so much more things you just, like, you know, we spoke about, it's like science versus stories. Like, you could spend 2 weeks with a pro bodybuilder and just have open discussion. And he can tell you about his life, his experiences in the gym, his cycles that he's done, his phases that he's done, the injuries that he's had. And you could pick up just as good quality information from sitting there listening to him telling you stories than if you went and read a textbook and looked at all the research on certain topics. It's like, there's benefits to both. Just removing one as like bro science, it's nonsense. It's like, again, there is bro science that's nonsense. Just like we've listed, there's published articles that are also nonsense. But it's like, you have to look at the information and interpret it yourself and then apply that. And again, if it works, great, keep doing it. If it doesn't, you can leave it.
So they say, don't they? It's like, is coaching a science or an art? And it's like, you know, it is a science, but it's how you apply that in real life. That like, that's where the real results come from.
I think like the best skill that you can learn is just the ability to think critically. And that's not just with studies, it's with your own habits, beliefs, perceptions. Like, you should always be good at arguing against yourself. Like, if someone was going to debate me on something, it's like, well, if I was going to argue against my point, what are the things that I would bring up to try and give pushback? And if I can still rationalize it and win that argument. And it's like, oh, you probably got a decent point there. Whereas if I could think of one thing against myself and be like, that falls apart then. It's like, maybe I'm not right there. But I think people are afraid of being wrong. And also, again, you're always going to have confirmation bias with like looking at studies. If you want to believe that a higher protein intake is going to allow you to build more muscle, you will find studies to support that. If you want to believe that a vegan diet is better than a meat-based diet, you will find studies to support that. Like you'll be able to find studies that will back any claim that you want to make, but that doesn't, like, at the end of the day, I would go, have you got the results that you're looking for? Because if the answer is no, then it's like, well, then you need to start thinking more critically. Yeah. Because otherwise you're going to keep bashing your head against the same wall, expecting for a different result. And so I think it's, like I always say, like the only thing we're biased towards is results. Like I don't give a shit if someone's vegan or carnivore or whatever. Like I care about them getting the results that they're after in a practical and as safe as possible way. But like I think as soon as you start to pigeonhole yourself between like I only look at evidence-based or I only go by anecdotal, because you will have guys that will go, studies are nonsense. It's like, well, they're not nonsense, but it's because they've probably had one debate against someone which has called them out on some bullshit that they've said. Yeah. And that person is probably right. But they're like, I don't like, it doesn't feel good when I'm wrong.
And also they've seen a scientist who's like a researcher in anatomy and physiology or whatever speak about it, and he's got no muscle. Yeah. So it's like, oh no, everything he says is stupid. It's like, well, no, he might understand it quite well. He just doesn't like training very much. Yeah. It's like, and then there's the other end where it's like a guy who's absolutely jacked talking complete nonsense. And then the scientist being, he didn't know what he's talking about. Like, well, he's definitely
done something.
He's definitely done something, right? Yeah. So he's not worth ignoring. Like, you can still listen to him. Yeah. And then you can listen to both of them and then use that information. But they almost like feel like you're either one or the other. Yeah. Like science is nonsense. And if you haven't got any muscle or you're not in shape, then you have no leg to stand on. And if you don't understand the research and the science, you have no leg to stand on. And it's like, no, everyone.
It's a massive grey area.
Yeah. When really they should both come together and have a conversation, and they were both learning something from each other. You know?
Yeah.
So
there was a really good. This was years and years ago. There's a bodybuilder called Dave
Palumbo.
Dave Palumbo is it? But so Dave Polchinella is the guy that like the 6 foods that work, like that guy. Like, very bro science, but, he got shredded, for his shows. And he got called out by a YouTuber. And I think the YouTuber's channel was something like Ice Cream Fitness or something. And the YouTuber was like skinny guy with glasses, no muscle, like he'd never trained in his life. And he was saying meal frequency doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter whether you eat once a day or 6 times a day. 6 meals a day does not speed up your metabolism. And Dave was a 6 meal a day guy. And so they had an in-person debate. And it basically come down to Dave was saying like, what you're saying is correct. However, when you're a large bodybuilder needing to eat 6,000 calories a day, you cannot practically do it in 2 meals or 3 meals. That's why we do 6 meals a day. Like, so you do 6 1,000 calorie meals. And so it's like, both of us are correct. Like, this is why we do it. But like, and obviously, if you eat 6,000 calories a day, your metabolism is probably going to be faster than when you're not eating 6,000. But also, you could theoretically do it in 1 meal a day, but practically speaking, you're going to feel fucking terrible. And so it was like this like real world experience versus there's no study that supports 6 meal a day is beneficial compared to like 1. Yeah. But then you've got a massive yoked guy being like, you can't get this big without eating like frequent meals. But it was a really like, it was a constructive debate, like, because Dave was very, very intelligent. Yeah. And it wasn't like just a bro. But it was like a good debate. But I thought it was a really good example of like, you've got one guy that is pure evidence-based, like the Lyle McDonald kind of guy. And then you've got the bro, but is educated as well, and so it was quite interesting.
Think of context was missing there, wasn't it?
Think of just that example now. It's a really good way of looking at it. Whereas, like, say now someone is trying to eat 6,000 calories a day. If they did try and do it in 2 or 3 meals, the chances, there's a potential outcome that they are absolutely stuffed. Therefore, they don't want to be very active, or their training intensity drops down. Like they're in like a carb coma whereby they want to have a nap. Yep. Therefore, when you look at their total energy expenditure at the end of the day, it is less. they haven't moved as much. So therefore, their metabolic rate, their metabolism has gone down because they're now moving less.
Yeah.
And it's not because of the meals directly, it's just stuffing that much food in. Whereas if you're eating 6 1,000 calorie meals and you can digest them much better and you feel good digesting them, you're up and about, you're moving, your training performance is better. So it's, now it is having a positive effect. And it's not, again, we had this conversation on the Power Hour the other day. It's not direct, but like there is something to be said for it. It's not, although, there's not a study showing that, but when someone changed their meals to 6, this happened. But that is a potential outcome.
Yep.
So it's like, again, it's you don't need a study to prove something. You can just trial and error it and still figure it out. And I think that's where a lot of it with fitness is like they feel like they need a study to prove something to show it's true.
Yep.
But it's like, well, if you just keep trial and error in it and it seems to be a consistent theme, it's like, there's some truth to it.
You have like the 3, I think, all right, you have like the 3 variables. You have like the independent variable, the thing you're testing, the dependent variable, which is like your standard group. And then you have confounding variables, which are like, we don't have control over these things. You can never control all of the confounding variables. Like if you look at any nutrition study, if it says self-reported intake, you may as well just wipe your ass with it, because it's like we've again, and you can look at other studies with tracking and you could say people underreport their intake up to 50%. And so it's like, well, how are we going to look at, and I've seen this first person when I was doing my master's, because the majority of guys in my group were Oxford Brookes rowers, and they were all taking part in certain nutrition studies, and I would see them eating shit that wasn't part of the study. And I'm like, aren't you doing that? Like, you're supposed to be tracking that. And he's like, yeah, whatever. And it's like, well, how many studies are like this where, and I would ask them, like, what is your diet? And he's like, just anything I can get my hands on. It's like, I need like 5,000 calories a day. It's like, what do you eat for dinner? Domino's. It's like, I'm a student, like, and we get all the deals for Domino's pizza. And I'm like, but you're supposed to be like an elite athlete tracking these things for this study. And they're like, yeah, whatever, we just lie about it. And so it's like, well, how much does that go on? Like with the supplement studies, with anything where you're not setting a lab and being monitored 24/7, people will make shit up.
And look at the variables there in fitness, like sleep. Look at the sleep differentials between people, sleep quality between people, the hydration levels between people, the ability to train hard, self-reporting their nutrition, like all these things. And again, how are you even measuring all those things? Is it all self-reported? So self-reported sleep, self-reported water, self-reported diet, self-reported training, not like looking at actual. So all these things moving at the same time. It's so hard to really dial in a study to show this caused this. Because there's so many other moving parts.
Another one we did was beetroot supplementation. And I think we were using it was like a repeated Wingate or something. Because what is the benefit? It's like nitric oxide or something. It's like a vasodilator or something. But like we were doing like a repeated Wingate, and
just take Cialis.
The first one we did, and because again, this is like the variables that you can't control. First one we did in the afternoon, and so I was one of the participants. So I got to university obviously that morning. I had a day's worth of food and hydration, and I was feeling pretty good. Did the first test. Second one we had to do in the morning. This was like, I think the temperature had dropped massively and the lab was freezing. I got there first thing in the morning. I'd only had a coffee. And I also didn't have time to warm up because they were behind schedule. And so my performance dropped by the beetroot supplementation. But it's like, well, I slept like shit. I was up at 3. I've had a coffee. I've had no food. I'm dehydrated and my legs are cold. And so it's like and then you've got 50 participants where they've got all of those variables going in as well. And then so it's like, oh, we looked at this study and this supplement caused this. It's like, you have no idea. Like half the students could have been out on the piss last night and you don't know. And so like with all like supplement studies and things, if you're not monitored in the lab 24/7, like your conclusion is maybe this thing might do something we don't know. Like that's pretty much it.
But
Like
also,
go try it yourself.
to do that. That's like creatine. Some people are like, oh, should I take creatine? And I'm like, well, there is some evidence out there. Because if someone said, shall I eat a cactus? I'm like, well, no, there's no evidence to suggest a cactus helps. But it's like, should I take creatine? Well, there is some evidence. So buy it, try it. if you're happy with the outcome, keep taking it.
If not,
you're not
stop.
happy with the outcome, stop taking it. I'm like, there's your evidence. That's all the evidence
I
you
would
need.
literally look at it as like, is there any reports of like negative, like health outcomes?
Yeah.
And if there isn't, you know, I think there's like a small percentage of people that take creatine that might shit their pants. Yeah. But like, aside from that, you know, and again, it's like,
Tuesday, yeah,
just another day in the office. But even with that, it's like, okay, you might take it and have a bad bowel day, and then you stop taking it. You're not going to die. Like, you're going to be fine. And so like with any supplements that I'm like, try it. Yeah. See, like, because placebo effects are still effects.
Yeah.
And so even if like, I've been taking this workouts have been awesome. That pre-workout could literally be Ribena, you know, or just like it could be caffeine and something else. And you're like, oh my God, it's amazing. Cool.
Keep going.
As long as there's no downside effects, go for it. Because
Yeah.
again, we're looking for the results or the outcome that we're after. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think until you've taken part in research studies or conducted them yourself, you realize how flawed they are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like science can put you on like the right path, and then the rest comes from trial and error yourself.
Yeah.
That's literally what it is.
The amino acids was people like, you'll see all these bodybuilders lumping in aminos and things. And it's like, they'll say, oh, like there is a study that showed that it did improve muscle retention. And you look and it's like, yeah, but their protein intake was naff.
Yeah.
Like, so that
they ate more protein.
Yeah. It's like they had a better amino acid profile than the other ones because they were also low protein and didn't take anything. Whereas if now you compare to a sufficient protein intake and then you add it on top, oh, now there's nothing. Yeah. So it's like, oh, again, if you're unable to critically think about what's going on, which is a hard skill to have, going down the science route is almost a waste of time. You may as well just give it a knock yourself. It's like, did you start taking them? Did you build muscle as a result of taking them? Was the amount of muscle you built worth the cost that you spent on it? There we go.
Yeah.
Your answers.
There was, remember it was like, it was when like all the ketone supplements come out, like raspberry ketones and stuff. And I remember there was a guy like promoting all of it, and my old mentor Trevor was like sat in, it was like a conference, and he was bigging up all these ketones and stuff. And he's like, yeah, you know, take these in a fasted state, and you know, and then your energy levels are going to improve. And then, and Trevor was like, so if you consume calories in a fasted state, like, do your energies improve? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, do ketones contain calories? And he's like, yeah. And he goes, all right. And he's like, so basically you're eating something. And it's like, there's nothing to do with ketones. It's like, you're having 100 cows. Yeah. Like, most people, when they're fasted, when they eat food, they feel better and their energy levels go up. Okay. Like, and yeah. So it was just like have some raspberries. But it just little things like that, like you miss the forest for the trees kind of thing. Like exactly like, you know, if someone added a bunch of essential amino acids to their NAF protein intake, they will get benefits because they've increased their protein intake. If you're already eating 300 grams of protein a day, BCAAs ain't doing shit. Yeah. But it's just, I think like correlation and causation are big ones. Again, when you are looking at studies, like if you are gonna like looking to explore, look at meta-analysis and systematic reviews, and that's got like the highest probability that like the conclusion is probably closer to the truth than not.
It's because it's been shown time and time again.
You know, rat studies, in vitro, things like that. It's a very low level of like reliable information.
Unless you're a rat.
Yeah. Unless you're a ratatouille, then you can
That's
go,
not bad.
You can go by the rat studies. But I like trial and error is one of the, if not the best thing to do. And like, but this is the cool thing is like you can use your body as a bit of a science experiment because you know the variables that you're controlling. And so again, this isn't to say that you can then promote this as, because you see this all the time where someone gets great results doing something and now they are that guy and they're going to sell it to everyone and like, do this and you'll get great results. It's like, well, you got great results. Again, there's loads of other variables which go into play in someone else's life, which this might be the worst program ever for them. Like they've got kids, their hormones are different, their age is different, their muscle mass is different, all of these things. Like what you're promoting could literally harm them. But all you can say is, from my personal experience, doing X, Y, and Z has helped me achieve this. Cool. Perfectly valid micro study. But I think being open to trying different things and building your own kind of evidence is good. Being able to think critically and give yourself pushback on why certain things are working is a really, really good skill to build. And also when you're reading studies, like try and tear them apart. Like just from the examples that we've just said, it's probably opened up a lot of people's eyes of like, oh, this isn't like a real structured, you know, like controlled thing. Because anytime you say study, people think lab coat, people like in a line, you know, like robots like going in, and it's like real studies aren't like that at all.
It's winged and chaotic.
Yeah, 100%. Some people pull out, some people don't show up, some people are late, some people forget to take the supplement. Sometimes the technicians fuck it up. We had a guy at our university, he miscalculated the dose of caffeine, and he gave someone like 2 grams of caffeine or 3 grams, and it was supposed to be milligrams. It was like milligrams per body weight, and he did grams per body weight, and then they had to like pay the guy off so he didn't sue.
Ben's heart rate was nice tonight.
He literally had tachycardia, like literally had to send him to the hospital. And so it's like scientists always make mistakes. There's so many variables which it doesn't matter how hard you try, you can't control. And so all studies are really is like best guess.
Yeah,
it might do this.
It just adds. It adds to the pool of information. Just add, but look at the whole pool. Don't just look at the one study.
Yeah.
Or if you are going to read an abstract, read the limitations as well.
Yeah. But it's like when you see patterns happen over and over and over and over and over again, maybe there's something to it.
Something to be said.
And so it's just our job as coaches for our clients is to provide them with as much information as possible so they can make as an informed decision as possible. Doesn't mean it's going to be the right one, but it's like here's all the information you can look at. Here's the limitations. Here's the pros. Here's the cons. Trial and error.
Here we go.
Like it's the best way. So hopefully that opens up your eyes to the anecdotal versus evidence, and the goal is to kind of make that bridge and give you the practical implementations that you can carry away and actually get the results that you're after. Thank you as always for tuning in, guys. Be sure to like and subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube, and we'll see you next time.
If you love this show, please like, share, and leave us a 5-star review so that we can help more people. I'm John Madsen, reminding you to always go get what's yours.